Welcome to a special edition of the Chelsea Forum. My special guest today is our new city manager, Tom Ambrosino. Welcome, Tom, to our show.
Thank you very much.
All right, Tom, let's begin with your background. Let's talk about your roots, growing up, your education, and so forth.
So I grew up and live right next door in the city of Revere. I went to Revere High School. Then I went from there, spent 1 year at New York University. And then I got homesick. I was only 17, and
Really?
I was very homesick. I came back and finished up my last 3 years of schooling at Boston University. And then I was lucky enough to get accepted to Harvard Law School.
Wow.
I spent 3 years there, graduated from Harvard Law School, and then started a career as a lawyer.
Yeah. So what got you into politics?
Well, I always had an interest in politics and wanted to give something back to my community. So I started out on the school committee in Revere. That was, I think the first year I was elected was 1989. I got seated in 1990. And I spent 6 years on the school committee and really enjoyed it. I really had an affinity for education issues.
Yeah. What were some of your greatest achievements on the school board?
Well, at that time, really, it was the early 90s, so there was a real economic problem. So the first couple of years we just spent trying to dig out of that recession that happened in the early 1990s.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had a superintendent search. We ended up hiring an excellent superintendent, Rocco Malfitano. Those were really the two big things that were accomplished back in that time frame. But and we really did a good job of making the school department really efficient. We were a little top heavy when I first came in, but the recession and the layoffs kind of allowed us to make a much more efficient bureaucracy in that Revere School Department, which I think is carried through to this day. So those were some of the good things that we accomplished. Not that layoffs were a good thing, they were terrible.
Who was the mayor at that time?
Mayor was George Colella for the first 2 years I was there, and then Robert Hass came in after that. But they were both good supporters of the school department in Revere.
Yeah, that's terrific. And what did you do after the school committee?
So then I ran for city council at large.
What ward is it?
It was an at-large position.
Oh, at large.
There happened to be an open seat the year I ran, so that was 1996. I ran for an at-large seat and I won.
The first time out?
First time out, yes. I spent 4 years on the city council, mostly focused a lot on zoning issues at that time on the city council, and I was on the Ways and Means Committee as well. I served with George Colella, who then had come back and served as a city councilor and learned a great deal.
He held every job,
yes.
Every position. Was he that?
He was a very knowledgeable person on municipal finance, extremely.
Really,
and honestly, I can say, I used to say this in Revere all the time, I learned more sitting next to George Colella than I ever learned about government anywhere else. He was a fabulous mentor.
And the Red Sox probably too.
Yeah, and the Red Sox, yes.
Yeah, and then when you ran for mayor?
I ran for mayor in 1999 and was elected. And
first time running for mayor?
First time running for mayor. And so I started in January of 2000 and I served as mayor for 12 years.
And let me interject a minute. I've heard from people you could have been there for life. From the people talk. But the only thing, they had one drawback. They said he's honest, he's smart, he's fair, but he said the bill in the city hall with electricity. He would burn the midnight oils, stay there all night. You'd drive by at midnight, and there'd be times the mayor's light on. So are you going to hurt us here, Tom? We love it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's
no, I've slowed down a bit. Well, honestly, I loved that job of being mayor. For, I would say, 10 of the 12 years, I really enjoyed it. But I did, at the end, three things happened to me. One, I did start to get worn down. It's a tough job, just like this job. Lots of hours, lots to do, and your days never end. So after 12 years of that, I was a little worn down. Second, I had accomplished the things I set out to accomplish, so I really felt that it was a good time for me to leave. And third, and I honestly believe this, there is a shelf life to those kinds of jobs. Even this kind of job that I have now as city manager. I think that you know, there's a period where you can really be gung-ho and you have a lot of ideas, but there comes this sort of tipping point, especially probably after 10 or 12 years, where I think you kind of get stale.
Yeah,
and I think it's...
Well, don't do that to us.
No, no. If I'm here 12 years, that will be a long time.
What is the comparison, city manager and a mayor, Tom? I know you've only been here a short time.
Yeah, I can't say I see all that much of a difference in the two roles. I really feel like this role is very, very similar to being...
When you saw this come up, you said, that's a position I'd like to...
Well, honestly, I didn't. I had my focus, I wanted to be a judge. And I really had my focus sort of exclusively on trying to become a judge.
And that's why I think we're afraid in Chelsea. We're a little skeptical that you won't be here too long, because I think that robe might be coming down the line.
Well, I hope so. Someday I would like to be a judge, but I have committed to this community for 4 years, and I really am enjoying this so much. I'm not sure I would enjoy being a judge as much, so I'm not convinced yet.
You're too young.
Yes.
So
but anyway, so the job came up. Someone approached me and said, do you think you'd be interested in applying for this? And I hadn't, but I started to think about it and realized, you know, that might be something that I would find very attractive. I had worked really closely with Jay and liked Jay a lot. I liked what he had done in Chelsea. I liked the city. I knew a lot of the stakeholders, so I had worked with Roker. I'd worked with the neighborhood developers. I had worked with Capic. I had worked with Chelsea Restoration. So
I'm on the board of directors at Capic.
Yeah, so I knew all these players, had a great relationship with them. And so I said, this might be something that I would enjoy.
Now, how big is Revere? Like, you know.
Revere's population is about in the mid-50s.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
It has grown a bit. You asked me what was different. I will say that the difference is not in the job. It's, there's not as much, in Revere for a mayor, there's an enormous amount of immediate constituent demands. There's an expectation in Revere that the mayor is going to solve every problem you have. And so it's not unusual for people to come in and demand the attention of the mayor for every little issue. I find that here, department heads handle a lot of things that otherwise in Revere made their way straight up to the mayor's office.
That leads me to segue into a question now. How, with this, you know, we're in the technology we have now, how would you communicate now? People, if they do email, or would you answer face-to-face or via?
Right now, in the short time I'm here, really have been responding directly to people by email quite frequently. People call on the phone, but email seems to be taking over as the major mode of communicating with people.
Yeah, and I was just thinking of the other thing that come to mind, that I know you had a phone call from a constituent today. There's a lot of things going on. But in your short time, it's only been quite a month yet?
Just a month. Tomorrow will be a month.
Now, what do you see happening in Chelsea? What are your aspirations? What would you like to see done? I mean, it's too early to probably ask you that question, Tom, but...
Well, no, because as I said to the council, I see 3 areas of focus for me. One is economic development, which Jay did a tremendous job on, and I need to now carry through. So continuing to attract to the city great economic development, good retail establishments, good commercial growth, good residential growth. And there's a great deal of interest in the city, especially with this Silver Line coming. Yeah. So I think that is not as hard to attract development here as it had been in Revere. So that's one great thing, and I see that as a focus of my attention. Second thing is, ever since I served on the school committee, I have a great affinity for school departments. I feel like the school department...
Now, as a mayor, did you sit on the school department?
As a mayor, I sat on the school board. I was the chair of the school board. But I spent a lot of time and attention on the Revere school system because, in my opinion, having a strong school system is what attracts people to not only come to your city, but want to stay in your city. Families will come to your community and stay there if they know their children are going to get a good education. I have to say here, I've been extremely impressed with the school department, with Mary Bork, the superintendent, is fabulous. I think people have a great deal of respect for the Chelsea school system. And so I expect to spend a lot of time and put a lot of attention in. Right now, I'm spending a lot of time with the new Clark Middle School building. That's really a great project.
That's my old school.
Oh, I'm very excited about that new school. I know there's a lot of...
And if you don't get mad, I took 6 bricks.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
my wife graduated from there, my son and his wife graduated, my daughter and her husband. So we're going to put the year we graduated and the year it
Well,
came
it's funny you mention that, because we are savings for those viewers who are interested, who might have gone there like you or had parents that went there. We are saving some of the bricks. We have about 200 that we're going to maintain, and we're going to try to sell them for a modest amount. So we'll be looking for a check from you soon enough.
Me and my mom. See, Ricky, why did you tell me?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, thank you. You'll get a check once I find out how much it costs. You know, with such a busy schedule, I mean, you spend 24/7 here, and all the hours and the midnight oils are burning. Do you have any hobbies or anything, Tom?
Oh, I do. I have 2 hobbies in particular, and I say the same. I love to golf and I love to read. One I'm fantastic at, the other I'm terrible at.
I would say reading is
Yeah, I'm a great reader and a terrible golfer.
Any quote from anything that you've read that sticks out in your mind?
No, I couldn't say at the moment anything's coming to mind. I'm a reader mostly of historical, non-fiction historical issues, so I always have a book I'm reading, and I really do. I love to read.
You don't want to talk about the golf game?
No, the golf game, it leaves a lot to be desired.
You don't have the time. How can you be good at it?
That's a good excuse.
Really,
yeah, I don't have the time. I say that often.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Tom, this has been a pleasure meeting you, and I wanted the people to get to see you, and we hope that you'll come on the show as often as you can. I know it's not going to be easy with your schedule. Well, what do you want to see for the city, though? Just give us a little foray into some of your things that you'd like to see accomplished.
So one thing 2 areas that I'd really like to see kind of develop in my tenure. One is this stretch of Broadway from Bellingham Square down to towards Everett Avenue, to just make that pop a little more. It's a very vibrant area. I come out here any time of day. It has what lots of downtowns don't have, and that's enormous foot traffic.
Yes.
So it has great potential. So I want to spend some time making the area more visibly attractive, and I really feel confident I can do that.
Tom, if I could tell you something. Past few years, we haven't, unlike Revere, we haven't really shown anything at Christmas. We just don't illuminate.
I'm going to promise you and the constituents, it won't happen for this Christmas. There's not enough time. Christmas of 2016, I promise you, there will be decorations along that stretch of Broadway.
Because Revere was always so beautiful.
Revere did
In fact,
nice.
We used to go around to all the offices here to have them wish Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or what. But we had to bring our own wreath. There wasn't a decoration in here, Tom.
We will have decorations. Yeah. And the second area is the waterfront. I really think that waterfront has enormous potential, and I'm looking forward to development there. So those would be the 2 areas that if I were to leave in 5, 6, 7 years, I'd like to say, look, I accomplished that. Those areas look different today because of things that I did.
I'm sure they will too.
Oh, thanks.
You know, I just know they will. You know, it's just a pleasure having you. And you know, I have to tell you, you probably found out, you're blessed with a good staff in the City Hall.
Fabulous.
And the department heads, and even the fire department and the police, I think they're second to none. And I know you've worked with municipalities, Revere and everything, but you're going to find out they're outstanding.
I've been extremely impressed with the talent at City Hall, and I've mentioned that to several people.
Yeah. Well, Tom, this has been a pleasure.
Thanks. Okay.
This is Duke Bradley signing off for Chelsea Forum.